December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor burns. Battleships sink into the sea. Planes smolder on runways, and America wakes to a nightmare. In just 2 hours, the Japanese Empire has brought the world's most powerful nation to its knees. The Pacific belongs to them. Guam, Wake, the Philippines. One by one, islands fall, the rising sun planted on every shore. But Pearl Harbor was not the end. It was the beginning. The Japanese sought to strike again, to break America's will once and for all. And so, 6 months later, a tiny speck of land in the middle of the ocean, Midway Atoll, would become the stage for one of the most decisive battles in human history. The fate of nations, the future of the war, perhaps even the shape of the modern world, would be decided in a few heartbeats of fire. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto was no ordinary commander. He was a strategist, a gambler, a man who had studied in the United States and understood its strength. He knew Pearl Harbor had awakened a giant, but he believed he could put it back to sleep with one crushing blow. His plan: draw out the last of America's carriers, ambush them near Midway, and destroy them. With the U.S. Navy broken, Japan would dominate the Pacific unchallenged. He assembled a force like none the ocean had ever seen. 4 aircraft carriers: Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, the same ones that had struck Pearl Harbor. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, hundreds of planes, and thousands of men. It was, on paper, unstoppable. But Yamamoto did not know that the Americans were already inside his mind. At Station Haipo in Hawaii, U.S. cryptographers had broken the Japanese naval code. They knew AF, the target, was Midway, and Admiral Chester Nimitz prepared his trap. He had just 3 carriers: Enterprise, Hornet, and the barely repaired Yorktown. Outnumbered, outgunned, but ready. The board was set. The pieces were moving. For Japan, Midway was not just another island. It was the key to Hawaii, and Hawaii was the key to America's survival in the Pacific. For the United States, losing Midway would mean bringing the war to California's doorstep. The entire West Coast could be threatened. Both sides knew this was no ordinary battle. This was the moment where the tide would either stay in Japan's favor or turn forever. The Americans were nervous. Many of their pilots were fresh out of training. The Yorktown had been smashed at Coral Sea and patched up in just 72 hours. They were sailing into a storm with ships held together by hope. And yet, they had one advantage more powerful than steel: knowledge. They knew where, when, and how the enemy would strike. Before we dive into the moment when steel and fire collided over the Pacific, a quick note. If you want to support 5 Minutes of Culture and help us bring these epic turning points of history to life, consider becoming a member. You'll unlock exclusive content and join us in preserving these unforgettable stories. June 4th, 1942. The dawn sky explodes with the roar of engines. From 4 Japanese carriers, bombers and fighters thunder into the air, streaking toward Midway. They come in waves, darkening the horizon, a storm of steel and fire. On the tiny atoll, American Marines scramble to defend. Anti-aircraft guns hammer. The ground shakes. Hangars erupt in fireballs. Runways split apart. But Midway does not break. From makeshift airstrips, American bombers take off into the chaos. Many never return. But their sacrifice buys time, distracting the Japanese, keeping them from finishing the island. And far away, beyond the horizon, the American carriers wait. The first wave of American carrier planes approaches. But they are slow, outdated. Torpedo planes flying barely above the waves, like ducks in a shooting gallery. Japanese Zeros swoop down. Bullets shred wings. Engines burst into flame. One squadron after another is annihilated. From Torpedo, Squadron 8 of the Hornet. 30 planes set out. 29 are shot down. Only one pilot, Ensign George Gay, survives, floating in the ocean, forced to watch the battle unfold around him. It looks like a disaster. The Americans have lost nearly everything. But that sacrifice changes everything. The Japanese fighters are dragged low, chasing the doomed torpedo bombers. The skies above are suddenly clear, and into that empty sky dive the angels of death. At 10:20 a.m., American dive bombers, running low on fuel, lost, desperate, and spotted the Japanese fleet. Below them, the carriers are in chaos. Crews rush to refuel planes, load torpedoes, and arm bombs. Gasoline hoses snake across wooden decks. Explosives lie unprotected. The perfect target. From the heavens, the dive bombers scream downward. The sun glints off their wings. Alarms sound too late. One by one, the bombs hit. Kaga erupts in fire. Akagi is torn apart. Soryu shatters into burning wreckage. In just 4 minutes, 3 Japanese carriers, the pride of the fleet, veterans of Pearl Harbor, are transformed into floating infernos. The ocean, once dominated by Japan, now belongs to chaos. But Japan is not finished. The last carrier, Hiryu, launches counterstrikes with fury. Waves of bombers descend on Yorktown. Explosions rock her decks. Black smoke fills the sky. Miraculously, Yorktown's crew keeps her afloat. They fight fires, patch holes, launch planes again and again. But Hiryu strikes once more. Yorktown shudders, powerless, drifting. She will sink days later, a sacrifice paid to change the tide. By evening, American planes find Hiryu. Dive bombers plunge once again. And the 4th Japanese carrier joins her sisters in flames. The trap had turned. The hunter had become the hunted. When the smoke cleared, the numbers told the story. Japan lost 4 carriers, over 300 planes, and more than 3,000 sailors. The United States lost 1 carrier and far fewer men. But most importantly, America kept Midway and seized momentum. For Japan, the defeat was devastating. Never again would they go on the offensive in the Pacific. From Midway onward, it would be America advancing, island by island, wave by wave, until the war ended in Tokyo Bay. Historians call Midway the turning point of the Pacific War. And they are right. But it was more than that. It was a story of the intelligence of codebreakers whose invisible war shaped the battlefield. It was a story of the sacrifice of squadrons who died knowing they might never even reach their targets. And it was a story of chance, 4 minutes that separated victory from defeat, empire from collapse. Midway was not just a battle. It was destiny, carved into the waves, written in fire across the decks of burning carriers, and sealed by men who chose courage over fear. From the skies above the Pacific, the world learned that history can turn in a heartbeat. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe to 5 Minutes of Culture. Every week, we bring you the untold stories that shaped our world. Because sometimes the difference between victory and defeat is only 4 minutes.